So to start out the show, though, we are going to do shit internet apologists say.
Shit internet apologists say.
All right. And August, you're going to lead us into this. What have you got for us?
Absolutely. All right. So, our first segment today comes from MSN.com and the Atlanta Black Star. It was written September 21st. It goes over Pastor Juanita Bynum. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. And how she's charging $1,500 for a prayer course. So, she's having 14 hours total in 7 2-hour sessions. In attending this, you get a tote bag, a binder, a prayer shawl, and anointing oil, sacred anointing oil. Pardon me. And apparently afterwards, you also get a certificate. So, wow. It was originally $2,000 for this course, but she so gracefully and generously put it down to only $1,500. So that's a steal, right? And only 150 people can attend, and it looks like it starts tomorrow, October 6th. So go ahead and get your tickets, everyone. That is sarcasm, by the way. So I want to know what you think about this, Phil.
Well, I think it's a big grift. Why do I think it's a big grift? Despite the discount, you know how much she's making within 24 hours?
Too much.
Too much. Yeah, a lot. Up in the 100, above 100,000 plus dollars. Imagine that. And it seems like highway robbery, and you won't believe there are people who will actually pay for this, people who are struggling. And can you imagine this money? This money can do well for persons who need help, financial help, especially, let's say, to get their child into college, or so, or someone who needs something to eat, towards charities, etc. But for poor, didn't Jesus teach through the Lord's Prayer how to pray?
You'd think they would read their own holy text. You'd think.
Yeah, So why should we be paying? Why should anyone be paying that amount of money just for prayer? And as we know from prayer studies, prayer is no different to coincidence.
Yeah, it doesn't seem to change much, really, does it?
Right.
Nope.
Kelley,
Not at all.
Kelley, what's on your mind here?
I was kind of intrigued. I had never heard of this woman before, so I went and checked out her actual website, and I thought I was going to see something about her ministry or something like that, and there's nothing there. There is nothing at all about her ministry, her teachings, her beliefs, nothing. It is literally just a catalog of things that she sells besides this silly prayer event. And that, as far as I can tell, it doesn't even have a real name. It's only a description. Virtual, the Prayer Institute registration. That's seems to be the title of the event. And I was wondering, does that mean the registration is the thing they're going to teach you? I have no idea what's going on with this event. There's absolutely no description of what the class is or what you're going to be taught. There's the list of items that you mentioned, the prayer shawl and the anointing oil, but that's about it. And it seems like that's less than maybe $35 worth of stuff for your $1,500 fee. So
absolutely. So just to put some numbers behind this, I actually did a little bit of digging, and I saw that according to celebritynetworth.com, therichest.com, and celebworth.net, this woman's net worth is $10 million. $10 million is her net worth, according to these three sites. And the fact that she's charging these regular people $1,500, that is so much money. That is so much money. And not only that, but I did some searching on Georgia statistics, and let's see, according to USICH.gov, the homelessness statistics are that in January 2020, Georgia had estimated 10,000 plus people experiencing homelessness on a given day. So while this woman is charging $1,500, which for some places, I'm not exactly sure the rent in Georgia, but for some places that could be at least a month's rent, if not more. She's charging these regular people when there are 10,000 plus people each day supposedly in Georgia experiencing homelessness. And one more thing I have to mention, just to show how much of a scam and just a ploy to get money this is, when I looked at her Instagram promotion for this event, I guess you could call it, she appears to have a Gucci belt on. And I actually looked it up, and from the Gucci website, of course, right. Because if your net worth is $10 million, what's a $500 belt to you? $500 belts. And yet she's charging like triple that for this prayer event where you get a tote bag and a certificate. Wow.
Wow.
Nice.
And she gets 2 more belts.
Right. Exactly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Can I say also, I realized that persons push back against her, some pastors and so on, but then she gaslights the persons who opposing her, charging that money, claiming that she is insulted. What? After charging, so you're insulted? Rather, I think it's you are insulting people.
Exactly.
You know? And so, but why will she feel insulted? August, why will she feel insulted?
Maybe because she got caught.
Maybe. I also noticed, like, when I did go to the website, and this is just a few days now before this seminar begins, she has again dropped the price and discounted it down to $999.99. So now it's half price instead of just 25% off. So apparently there not enough people are falling for it. So
well, that's
probably
a good
thing. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things I couldn't help think about when I was reading this whole story, though, was, and going back to what you were talking about, believing in their own teachings, was the story about Jesus and the money changers from the Bible. You know, wasn't Jesus pissed off because they were making money off of the religion? Is it,
right.
And isn't that the same thing that's happening here? I mean, if Jesus was a real godlike being, I think he'd be pretty pissed. Juanita seems to have a long talk with herself and reconcile what she's doing with her beliefs, because she's not following what she's teaching, that's for sure. And unless, of course, she's doing this as a con, right?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe she thinks she's doing well and that this will possibly help people or change their lives. But come on, man, really? 14 total hours of a quote unquote class, and you get a couple of probably cheap items that like you said would probably be less than $50 US, and you're charging this much money for it. It doesn't make any sense. You'd think you'd want to do this maybe out of like the goodness of your heart to spread the good word and the joy of Jesus and his teachings. But no, someone with $10 million in net worth needs to charge $1,500, or the discount, I guess, is so nice. But these are ordinary people that are going to be falling for this, and I feel really bad that these people are going to be vulnerable.
But August, she said that she has been given her services free for 35 plus years, so now she seems to be entitled.
Right.
She made a lot of money for doing stuff for free.
Yeah.
Right. I don't know how
Sure.
she made $10 million in net worth off of doing stuff for free
Stuff
for
for
35
free.
years. Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Interesting. And wasn't she a gospel singer?
Was she? I don't know if I saw that part.
I think I read that she was
I
into
wouldn't be
gospel
surprised.
singing.
Yeah, I wouldn't be
And
surprised
that is
either.
very lucrative.
Right.
Yeah, because I know tons of musicians that make lots and lots and lots of, they make millions.
Sure.
Almost every musician I know.
Sure.
Oh yeah.
But still, then it's like you gave 35 years for free, but now you're going to charge ridiculous prices for something someone could literally probably Google and get the same information. I don't know.
One other thing I noticed too is that the persons pushing back, the pastors and the other Christians who push back against her charging so much, they talked about false prophets and there's a reason why people leave the church. But people don't necessarily just leave because of false prophets. There are no true prophets that have ever been shown to exist, right? And it's people tend to leave because they realize the crap that goes on in Christianity as a whole, not just because of
Absolutely.
false prophets.
All right, Kelley, what do you have for us next?
I do think about the false. I was thinking about the false prophet thing, and Phil, you make a really good point. I mean, how many of these prophets are real prophets? Any of them? I mean,
Nope.
And I don't know that that's driving anybody away from the church. It doesn't seem like, when I talk to people who have left the church, that is not a single one has said, well, I got tired of all the false prophets. And it goes to show you the disconnect between the leaders of the religion and the people who are leaving the church. They have no idea why. And they keep trying to figure out how to stop it, but they haven't been able to stop it because they don't know what's happening. Right?
Yeah, and I think that what they do too is try to set up these straw men about why people leave the church, you know, and that's a real problem because they make a big assumption about these things rather than ask people. And then, of course, they will want to tell you, oh, you leave the church because of such and such, right? When that is not the case. Yeah?
Absolutely.
Right.
You're mad at God.
Yeah, you are mad at God.
Bad Christians showed you the correct ways of Jesus, and now you were taught false things, and so that's why you don't believe. Like, come on, man. Why don't you just ask? Ask me why I don't believe.
Yeah, rather than making assumptions.
And when you see these other ministers calling her a false prophet, you got to wonder if they're making as much money as her and they're just jealous, right? I mean, let's face it. It's all it could really be.
Yeah.
Seemed kind of like projecting to me. Like, hey, you're stealing my tactics. What are you doing? Don't steal their money. I'm stealing their money.
And you're doing it better than me. So this is not right.
Okay, but the tote bag though. Or are we more excited about the anointing oil? I don't know which one I'm more excited about. We'll have to see.
It is interesting, the anointing oil, because then I also did a check for the cost of these items generally. Anointed oil is around $4.50 to $5 US per quarter ounce. So a bag roughly say 25, binder $4 a per shawl, $20. So that's a total between 54 to 60 US. As Kelley said, these things are very reasonable. So why will you charge so much unless you are grifting the usual grift? The people, but you're worth what? 10 million?
Isn't she giving everybody a 2-hour question and answer session at the end of each lesson? So I mean, that's got to be worth all that money, right?
Right, 14 hours of talking about prayer. That's gotta be worth $1,500 for sure.
Yeah,
2,000
yeah.
at the start. It was $2,000.
Yeah, 1,000 now.
Yeah.
1,000 now.
Yeah,
Wow,
and
That's
very
just-
generous.
when I found out she had dropped it down to half price, I really started laughing. That really tickled me.
I mean, there's some college courses that cost, you know, depending on which college you go to and a community college, it could cost $1,500 for a college class. So it's like college credit or a prayer shawl.
Yeah, right.
Figure it out, guys. I don't know. Seems worth it to me.
No,
So
yeah. So the
Go ahead,
thing
Phil.
is that when you do the overall, as I said before, when you do the overall calculation for the amount of time for the 14 hours, that's the 14 sessions, 2 hours, that's 28 hours. That's roughly a day. And making over $100,000 in a day.
Mm-mm.
No, that's a big riff. You know that. No,
Not for
just
what she's
don't-
selling.
Not for what she's selling, and selling for prayer, which some as one person said, some Christian person said that they can easily go and read it in the Bible, find out how to pray. So it's just crazy. Then she talks about dimensions and levels of prayer. What?
Yeah, what
You
levels
know,
are
and that
there?
her method works. She says her method works.
Well, and I find it really telling as well that she's not giving details as to what kind of prayer course, what kind of information she's giving out. Just seems like that kind of information is very vague. And I get if you're like, hey, well, I want people to pay for it, so I'm not going to tell you. But I'm like, what is she going to say? I mean, that's a lot of time to be saying prayer stuff, like how to pray. I'm not really like, it doesn't make sense to me how you could even make that many hours into a prayer course. Like that doesn't even make sense to me. I guess they'll find a way. If there's a will, there's a way, I guess.
Right.